name is John Cornicello, and I welcome you to this series of live interactive photo conversations. You can see the schedule at cornicello.com/conversations for dates and times. Coming up, we have Steve Brazel, who's a great concert photographer, Pratik Naik talking about his ideas on retouching, Holger Mischke talking about galleries, new and old ideas, Harold Davis and Roman Lawrence coming up in January. Mention a couple of things before we start. So I've got a book out, Anatomy of a Studio Portrait. It's available in print via Amazon or in a PDF from PhotoWoe. I'll put a link to those in the description when the recording goes live. Next, you might notice a different look to the broadcast here. My friends at Interfit sent me their new Badger Beam LED light, and I'm using that now for the show. So here's a shot of what the office looks like from behind the camera. Check out the Badger Beam on the Interfit website, and you can get a 10% discount on any Interfit gear with the code Cornicello10 at checkout. And as LaRae mentioned, that was her first time on camera. This is in my living room. We did a class on working in a home studio. So let me just tell you a little bit about LaRae. She's an environmental portrait photographer, a host, and instructor with about 20 years of experience in photographing, directing, and producing exhibits. Speaking for the photo industry, she's worked for a number of companies as a representative, and you probably recognize her from Creative Live. So without further ado, let me introduce LaRae Lobdell.
Hello. I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me to join everybody today, John.
Sure, it's been a while in the making.
It has been.
I started these things around March or April, and just about that time you went off social media.
Yep.
So what's that all about?
I wanted to hear my own voice in my head. Well, and yeah, I mean, there was so much going on even leading up to that for me personally. And I was just, in a season of my life where I was just becoming really introspective and really getting my life back on track after having a child and surviving domestic violence and just I just needed to hear my voice. And then COVID hit, and then I was just like shelter in place orders. I was like, all right, here we go. And I started to go on to social media, but there was so much noise and so much discord in everybody. And I'm a feeler, I'm a super feeler. So I kind of like, everybody's pain, everybody's voice, what the entire country, the entire globe was talking about. It was really depressing for me. And it, as a single mom, it was my job to get up every single day and bring the brightness and joy to my daughter and to share with her and teach her how to choose happiness every day and to seek out the positive. And every time I picked up my phone, every time I went online, it was just like kind of negative and down. And so I was like, so I just slowly started, just like posted less and less. And I just kind of like pulled back, and I just became more and more introspective, more insular by choice.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And
Because for me, the COVID hit and I'm locked down and I couldn't have people around me. So I went online and just became a bigger personality.
yeah, exactly. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to just like unplug for a second. And it was, I'm still like, the jury's still out on, was that a good choice or a bad choice? Because I literally just came back online a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, how do I deal with this platform? I don't know how Instagram works anymore. There's all these new bells and whistles. I'm like, and now Facebook owns it, and now it's like integrated into their messenger. And so, yeah, there's a whole new learning curve to that. And which is funny because I've been a marketing consultant specializing in social media for years, as well as being a photographer. And I literally, I don't know how social media works anymore. Like just 6 months off and I'm out of the game. Yeah. So it's, yeah, but it was good. I think, finding my own voice and refining myself through the last 6 months has been really, really, it was good.
Yeah, so you did your wedding photography was your main thing back then, and then I knew you through some theater pieces. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that at the start of your adventure.
Okay, so I started wedding photography in 1998, and so wedding, families, pregnancy, birth, like the whole shebang, and then about 16 years into it, like 13, 14, 15 years into wedding photography, I kind of got really burnt out. It was just, 14, 16
Hmm.
hour days. And by the end, I mean, if anybody's shot a wedding, you know what post processing looks like, when you have 6,000 images to edit and, you're in the digital dark room for 40 hours. And it's discouraging because it's like, I want to photograph, I want to be with people. Like that's my gift, is like, I like interacting with people, and I'd rather do that than be behind the computer.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I kind of pulled back, and I was living at the city near John Cornicello at the time. And then I was introduced to some theater folks, and I just started a personal project of photographing people on the stage and off the stage, behind the scenes of the theater industry in Seattle. And I would do anywhere from, 1 minute with a person to 2 hours with an individual, photographing them on location. I literally would just shoot up with like the bare minimal equipment, gear, sometimes an extra light, sometimes not, just deal with natural light and make the environment work and tell a story with the images.
Yeah, that was some great work there. I mean,
Thank
that's
you.
something I don't do. I show up with tons of lights and equipment and and build my own environment.
Yeah. See, and I need to get back into lighting because there's such a skill in that, and you can refine and do so many really wonderful things with lighting. However, like really my jam is just really about people
Hmm.
and photographing them in their environment. So I tend to like ditch the gear
Yeah.
and just yeah, camera, manual settings, sometimes just a single lens. Like my 50 mm 1.4 is my go-to lens.
Hmm.
I use that for pretty much, like, I would say 75% of all my shoots.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I also knew you through Black Rapid.
Yeah.
Was that your first place that you represented, or did you do other?
Yes. Yeah. Black Rapid was when I was a wedding photographer. Let's see, about 2002, 2003, I ran into another wedding photographer in Seattle at the Tractor Tavern, and his name was Ron Henry. And I was like, dude, I totally love your work. I just so admire you. This was when websites were just starting out. So he and I both had like this rudimentary old, like, HTML websites, so we'd start discussing that. And then we started meeting up for, wedding photography meetings. And then around 2006, 7, he's like, hey, I designed this like camera strap, want to test it out. I'm sure, like I'll, you know, give the prototype a test run. And so I would photograph weddings with the Black Rapid strap. And then by 2010, I was doing really well on social media, blogging, things like that. And he's like, well, why don't you come do that for Black Rapid? We're really taking off. And we just they had just gone from a Seattle-based company and launched into Europe. I think mostly it was Germany and England where they had just launched into. And then over the progression of the next 18 months, I helped them launch in over 50 countries all over the world. And then they just like ran me, like they were like, all right, we're going to go do a trade show, we're going to go do this. And then I ended up meeting like so many people in the industry, because trade shows, you end up like with, the folks at Think Tank Photo and all, you end up like with your community of people, and it's all the same businesses, the same people, the same culture at every single trade show all around the world. So I went everywhere with them. I think one of my favorite places was India, but definitely England was one of my favorite as well. Just great folks, really lovely trade show that they have there, very
Hmm.
hospitable, and we
Yeah, the
just had
trade
fun.
show industry is really changing. I mean, Photokina just
Yeah.
said they're putting a hiatus. Don't know if they'll be back.
Mhm.
WPPI has moved out from February or March into August. August in Vegas at the Mirage. That's going to be a nice warm time.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's gonna stay indoors, like air conditioning.
So
Yes.
do you miss the trade shows and all the travel?
Oh man, yes and no. Uh, Traveling for work seemed glamorous at the time. I'm glad I did it. I was in my early 30s when I did it, so I had the energy. and the motivation. But now I'm tired and I want to stay at home. And it was exhausting. You know, it was like I would leave, I would leave my house at like 3 a.m., hit the airport, fly for, anywhere from 10 to 15 hours, land at the hotel, and then I had like a
Mhm.
full day's or 2 days worth of work to hit on the computer, then meetings, then you're at the trade show on your feet from like 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. Then you have to go out to dinner with dealers and distributors and
Reducing,
deal with business. And then and then you go back to your hotel room and you have 2,000 emails. And then you get up and do it all over again. And that was Photokina. That was 6 days straight. It's just exhausting.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. I wouldn't trade one day for all the world. It was very adventurous.
Uh-huh.
It was very cool. That, like I said, it was exhausting. I got sick a lot, during that season where I was just traveling so much. It was like I would get the flu over and over again, or colds, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not fun.
So folks in the audience, feel free to ask questions and chime in. You can either unmute and ask them, or you
Yeah,
can put them
please
into the
do.
chat. We're here to talk to everyone. So are
And
you photographing today? I mean, these days, have you started your business back up, or?
that's a really good question. I haven't been photographing people that much this year. Well, just do
Yeah.
mostly because of COVID, and I really wanted to get back into family photography this fall. I've been photographing just for a couple friends and family members, and I feel like that's my calling and my natural progression and arc of, going from weddings, families, and everything, and like doing all this big stuff. And I, and having a kid and being a single mom, like I've just kind of come back to family as my core and center.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been very difficult, like shooting on location, even here in Washington State. Our rules here during COVID are still very strict about wearing a mask. And I don't want to ask people to take their mask
Sure.
off, even for a photograph, even if we are outside, at a park or whatever. I just don't think it's appropriate, or my call to make.
Yeah.
So,
Our latest
um,
lockdown was supposed to end this week, and now it's extended to the end of the year.
yeah, till the beginning of January,
Yeah,
January
January
4th.
4th, I think, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. So I've just kind of, I've taken a step back from photography. I did a couple sessions with just me, and I've been helping a great friend of mine, Tara Savage. She has Rocco Dante handbags, and she's also the designer for two neighbors handbag companies. So I was photographing a lot of selfie shoots
Mm-hmm.
with their product, and so I've done a couple of those shoots this year during COVID of just me, and sometimes with Emerson. And then other than that, I haven't done much. But I did start my candle making business all over this year. It was just like something random. Another little side thing I do just to kind of make ends meet this year, because it's just interesting times. I've been doing product reviews
Mm-hmm.
for companies, like all sorts of different products. And one of the products was a candle making kit. And I was like, whoa, this was my very first business in 1996, I think. 1995, 1996. I started a candle making business and I loved it. And I had so much fun and I forgot all about it. And then, so I got this little candle making kit a couple of months ago, did a review on it, and, making Christmas presents in advance. And then I was like, and then I've been really educating myself on essential oils and the benefits of, how they change our limbic system, how they can heal you
Mm-hmm.
naturally. And so I kind of like married the two. And then now I'm like making candles. So now I'm doing little like photo shoots of my candles.
Well,
And it's
product
kind of
photography is
nice.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of nice. It's like,
And
all right. It's like I'm going back to my roots all over
mhm.
again. It's like, I think that's what I've learned through COVID, is that like strip away all the facade, strip away all the fame, strip away all your friends, everything that is normal. And what do you have? What do you like? Who are you? And what do you want to do? What's your purpose? And it's like, I really like making candles.
So you
And they
mentioned
smell good and
Emerson.
it makes me happy.
Yeah, you mentioned Emerson. For
Mhm.
those that don't know, that's your
Yeah.
4-year-old daughter,
Hmm.
and she made that.
Yes.
That's her little Christmas tree behind you.
Yeah. It's here.
Okay.
It's like glam. It's total glam glitter Christmas tree. Yeah.
Yeah, Ian.
Yeah. So, to what do you attribute your success in social media and on what platforms?
Oh, great question. It's also a tough one. uh, well, this I would say, well, my success on social media, if you can say it was success, I mean, by today's standards, not. But when I first started out, I definitely was successful. But it was all I did. I eat, slept, breathe social media, blogging. That was my life. And I think John Cornicello can attest to this. You know, anytime I was on Creative Live, if I wasn't live, like, you know, we were live, and if the camera wasn't on me, I had 10 screens open. I was blogging. I had, you know, 5 chat rooms open. I had, you know, Facebook Messenger. I was constantly just like involved and giving and giving and giving to the community, and photographing and sharing, and I was just available, readily available. But
How did you build your audience?
slowly and carefully over time, a trial and error. So I naturally, you know, when I post a blog post, I always link to other companies. I link to other people within the blog to make sure that the crawlers see, and associate me with them. And then on social media, what I always did was I always believe in like a triangle effect with my social media. So I wouldn't just like, hey, I have this blog post. It would be like, hey, I have this blog post and I'm tagging so and so. And I'm tagging another company that doesn't have anything to do with this other company, but I'm going to bring us all together and I'm going to make us one happy family and connect. And so I'd start this conversation between, it wasn't just me sharing to my audience that I had, and it wasn't just me working with one other company. Like Black Rapid would do a giveaway on my blog, or even on my social media, they would give me a product to give away. So it wasn't just using their audience, and it wasn't just using mine, and we would share our audience together, but then I'd bring in another company and tag them and bring them into the conversation. So all of a sudden we had another company. And then and then when all of that conversation is happening and we have 3 different audiences coming together on one social media post, and I went above and beyond, I would go out of my way and go post and give information and comment and like on all of these other people's posts and
How were you
blogs.
making
And
money?
pardon?
How were you making money?
How was I, or am I?
Then how did you
Then,
make
How
money?
oh,
were you
then,
making money
oh,
at that time?
then, like, which section of time? Um, well,
Well,
2000,
you're talking about the blog, and you're
yeah.
talking about all these different links to the
Mhm,
blog,
mhm.
where each of these different products and companies contributing to the pot, so to speak.
No, no. Like usually when I would do giveaways, they would just like, it was just product. So I would be doing photography. So for 2006 through, well, yeah, 2006 through 2016, 15, 16, I was doing photography full time. Uh, I was with Creative Live 2012 and 13. So I was working for them part time. And I've always had part time jobs on the side. So usually I have,
So
there
these
is,
blogs that you were doing,
mhm.
they weren't making any money per se.
uh, no. Well, I mean, it's the blog itself wasn't monetized back then. I was, but the blog gave me traction and credibility to get new clients. So it did work for me, and does that make sense? So it's like, you can't just have a
The,
website or a blog.
the
I
work that went
made,
into the
yeah,
blog was sort of the cost of doing business.
exactly. Yeah. And it gave me credibility, street credibility. And I was actively involved in not only the photography community, but I was actively involved in other artist communities and individual communities. So people would hire me
Do
to
you
do
think
photo
that
shoots, or they would also buy photos, like stock images from
do
me
you
too.
think, oh, the stock business is dead.
Hmm.
But do you think that that strategy would work now?
Mm-mm. No. It's totally changed.
One other question. When this whole COVID thing
Mhm.
begins to hopefully wind down,
Mhm.
do you actually think that people, families, are going to magically come back to portraits and the cost of what you were used to at the time it was in its heyday?
It's a really, really, really good question. It's something I actually think about a lot as well, because I'm on both sides of the coin. I'm also a family member and I want my portrait taken too. But I don't want to take it. I want somebody else to take it for me. Um, I think it's hard to predict what it's going to look like on the other side of this. What I see so far is that people are buckling down. And because there is so much uncertainty with business, commerce, etc., I think people will just start thinking differently and outside of the box. Um, I hope that there will still, the value of photography and our services will remain intact on the other side of this, that our value is still,
Well,
yeah,
the
go ahead.
services, yes, but the perception of the value back then versus now, with the way the economy and personal finances are going,
Mhm.
don't you think that your clients will say, "Well, I don't know, we spent $2,000, $3,000 before, or we really can't afford to do that now."
Mhm.
And so, will you be flexible enough to adjust your your business acumen
Mhm.
to what's happening in the to your clients?
Mhm. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, right now, as it is, I've been working with, helping a lot of people on the side with their businesses. And, I think there still will be those clients of mine who are, yes, every couple of years we spend $3,000 to $5,000 on a photo shoot with you and huge canvas prints and albums and everything. I believe those people will still retain um, that product with me. And services. However, I think a large amount of people aren't going to be able to afford specific products and services. And, um, I right now I'm on a case by case. It's like if somebody really needs something, I'm going to help them. I'm going to work
Yeah,
with them, and I don't. And I've always been that way. That has always been my business model
mhm.
because and I don't just, sometimes I will help people freely, but it's also like, all right, I do a lot of trades too. It's like, I would love to help you. And can you also help me? Like, let's make this fair. That way I still retain value in my services and product. And I'm also respecting them for what they offer in their services and or product so that we're both elevated.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point of a big reset, it seems like.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
prices may come down. I don't know.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
whole economy, we don't know what's going on. But at the same time, I think people are feeling their family ties more tightly too, and may want to actually get some photos if they
Yeah.
haven't done it before. Because every time you say there's a disaster, the first thing people grab is their photos
Mhm.
to save. And now people are realizing if I don't have those photos, maybe it is time to do something about that.
Mhm.
But
Uh,
if you look at the manufacturers of the products that we purchase to make the albums, to make the prints, to whatever, their pricing structure is coming down precipitously.
Mhm.
Camera manufacturers, I mean, they're not selling anything, and so album manufacturers, I mean, if very few people are shooting weddings, or what are they going to do with the warehouse full of albums? The little folio things that they sell a ton of. So I have a feeling that it's going to be a domino effect throughout the entire manufacturing section, And as a result, photographers, I think have to make a choice. Well, okay, if it's costing me less money to purchase the stuff that I normally would use to produce and finalize the wedding and bar mitzvahs and everything else, maybe as an incentive, I should give the end user a discount as well in order to drum up the lost business or drum up, including new business. That makes sense?
As
Anybody?
usual, no.
Wait, what? I didn't hear you.
As usual, no.
Yeah.
But let me ask, you mentioned that you don't think your social media strategies from back then would translate and work today. Why do you think that? And what would you possibly consider as ways to make it work today?
It's a good question. I'm still trying to figure out how, in the last couple of years, things have changed exponentially on social media. I'm having a hard time personally keeping up with it. I'm actually going back to college in January to finish my degree in marketing because things have changed so quickly. And I don't think, I mean, like I used to be able to get a couple hundred likes on a post, and now it's like I'm happy with 20 or 30. It's just different, I think, how the algorithm works, how you have to promote your post to actually be seen by your friends, and how if you're not actively liking and commenting on a specific person, you're not going to see them in your newsfeed ever. You have to go seek them out. So
Yeah, I
it's,
think you're saying overwhelming is really part of it.
yeah,
And
overwhelming.
Instagram,
Yeah.
I used to post almost every day, and in the past week, I may have posted once. It's just, I can't keep up with it. I've gotten bored by it. I just don't want to look at it. It's just, I'll go on there to post about these conversations maybe, and that's about it. A picture here and there. It's just like, I don't
Yeah.
have time to look through it anymore. And it's
Yeah.
just, and when I do look through it now, something's gone wrong with their algorithm. I'm seeing the same 5 pictures every day for a week. This not the same person, the same pictures. It just keeps showing me the same thing over and over again. It's like Instagram. But now with the government saying they want Facebook to spin off Instagram, who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I've got a question, LaRae. So you said earlier you dropped off of social media, but it sounds like you still see a lot of relevance in it, since you say you're going to go. So I'm just curious, like, what going forward, is that relevance a different kind of relevance than it was, or it's just like, no, I just want to get back in the game, and that's where I can like have a presence? I mean, what's in it for you? I guess not these days, but in the future.
Yeah. Now that I'm back,
Yeah.
it's like, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question again. You guys are great. For me, coming back, I chose to come back onto social media because I was about to just pull the plug and just be done with it. I missed my friends. I missed my community. And I feel that what I've been going through the last 4 years, there's a purpose for that on the other side of this. I'm not just talking about the photography. I'm talking about surviving domestic violence and protecting me and my daughter. And I feel that my purpose in life, why God put me here, like greater purpose, whatever universe you want to talk about. Everybody has their own higher purpose, but I'm supposed to help other people through this experience, and the platform I can do that is on social media. With that, I feel that when I do post now, I just go above and beyond trying to be authentic and transparent. It's not always shiny, happy. It's like, hey, this is real life. I'm a real person. And I feel like when I'm my most authentic and transparent, it's not just all about photography. I'm a real person underneath. I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I am a partner, I am a human being first and foremost. I feel like that part of me, when I give and share to help other people, that is what transcends and connects the most with others online. And that's where I'm finding my true purpose and my true community. And people drop off. It's like, oh, she's not talking about social media, you know, like photography anymore, or wedding photography or creative live. And so, you know, they fizzle out, but that's okay, because I'm finding out who my true people are.
But then but then for me, I mean, I don't know
Mhm.
if anybody else agrees. I don't care.
Right.
For me, I knew Brian was,
It was
for
coming.
me, I know, I'm building up. For me, that becomes an evangelist. And I know a little bit about being an evangelist in the photographic industry because I was one, and I understood my place in doing so. The reality of being an evangelist in something that is brand new and never been really done before is that you become a news item yourself. Okay, you become the quote unquote expert because of the fact that you're new, it's different, people like it, people enjoy it, and people come flocking to you like an evangelist. But once, but everybody seems to be an evangelist nowadays. Go to YouTube, ask a question on the internet, and everybody has, you know, it's the old story. Ask 10 people the same question, and you'll get 11 different answers. So I'm not sure if we're talking about photography, marketing, creating, selling, producing, profiting in the photo marketing industry has anything to really do with um, your behind the scenes life. You're like an actor or an actress. Um, I, 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 I applaud you for what you're saying, and I feel terrible about what you had to endure. Um, uh, but I'm not sure that when somebody looks at an image that anybody has created, whether all of that history is even seen behind the image that we're actually looking at full face. There's no doubt that right now we're in terrible times and everybody needs help. No doubt about it. Um, in, 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 in all the literature that I've ever read, besides the comic books, the it, it, during terrible times throughout all the centuries, the one thing that has given people some sort of hope and desire and to go forward has been the arts. It's the one thing that we can all do alone. You don't need anybody to help you draw a picture, to make a photograph, to do pottery, to do mosaics. Um, it, we're in a very interesting time right now because nobody alive has ever been through this before. Nobody.
No, I'm gonna actually agree with New Lawrence on some of this. It pains me to do.
Wait, can you say that louder so that you get recorded better?
But but I get the point because and I'll go back to Helmut Newton because he's my favorite photographer. Here's a guy that just produced the photos. He didn't really talk about what he did. Just here's my photos. That's it. I think there's a story about Vogue or somebody wanted a cover shoot from him, and he sent them 3 photos to pick from, and he got back a response as why do I only have 3? And he said, well, you only need 1. You know, so yeah, I mean, it used to be that the photos were the standalone result, as opposed to all of the narration and social discussion and everything else we put into it. Maybe that's because there's too many photos and too much
Bullshit.
not stellar photos, just photos. Nothing wrong with that. And going to another point that Mueller made, and I'll agree with it to some extent, is adaptability, I think, is very, very important. And I have seen some of my friends who have, like in the wedding industry or so forth, adapt to the times and adapt their prices, because now they're not doing 200 people weddings, they're doing 5 people weddings. And people that I know that are adapting to that and adjusting their prices and their products are now becoming very successful again, but along a different frequency. So so I don't know, but I agree with Mueller in regards to the standalone of the photograph. When you go into, and I'll go back to David Fay's gallery because I keep getting emails from him. You know, the photos there are really standalone, whether it be Mel's photos, Mel Sikowski's photos, or Helmut Newton's or Mapplethorpe. The photos are pretty much standalone. They're outstanding. And they get the pricing and appreciation because of it, not necessarily the story behind it.
You know, to add to that, you hit on some very interesting image makers. And these image makers, because of what they were and the images that they created, have a huge following, and I'll call them the upper 2% of the entire world's population. People that already have the money, okay? I don't think anybody that I know of, my friends, would have the money to be able to afford a pen, a Helmut Newton, or a Stieglitz, or Mapplethorpe. But because there is a definite financial, what's the word? Financial categories of people that everybody wants everybody wants a photograph, but not everybody can afford the photography that Avedon would take. Well, could they afford the photograph that Sheila Metzner would take? Could they afford the photograph that that I would take? Well, everybody could afford the picture, the photograph that I could take back then.
We're
can they do that
we're
now?
also in a time and an era where everyone is a photographer.
Not everyone.
Everyone can take a photo, and if you can't hire a photographer for $200, you just have your friend hold your iPhone, put it on portrait mode, and it's a decent enough photo that people are happy with it.
You know the difference
We're
between
not in an era where, I mean, think about the millions and millions and millions and millions of images photographed every single second around the globe. It wasn't like that when Mapplethorpe was huge and Helmut Newton. Like that's an era where there was actually fewer and fewer photographers. It was film photography. It was expensive. It was hard and arduous to go into our dark rooms and, you know, process each individual piece of film, each paper, you know, and dodge and burn using handmade tools and everything. And it's just different now. It's like two different worlds. It's hard to compare.
If you take what's happening now in the photographic industry with the amount of sales of traditional DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, that's over. They are down, all of them are down 85%, and there's some talk that Nikon, it may disappear or be bought out. However, photography is still out there because of the iPhones and whatever, all the smartphones. And a lot of the photographers are switching over to iPhones to take their photography. Now, if you go
Out of all the
back,
shoots I did this year, I only brought my DSLR out twice. Everything
there
else
you
has been
go.
done on my phone. Mhm.
See, and I know some very interesting photographers that are out there uh, taking the traditional shot and their iPhone shot of the same thing
Yeah.
because they're
So
practicing what's going to happen in the very near future.
yeah, for really mostly across the board right now for marketing and photography, I think of photography as something that supports marketing. And it's a key element in marketing. Marketing helps every single business around the world and every single element. And all people want right now is content, content, content. They want to be able to post every business, whether it be sole proprietorship or a large corporation, global corporation, they need photographs in multiple settings, multiple ways, different looks, and they just need to chew through it every day.
Except for one
Even if
thing,
it
marketing is different than advertising. In advertising, they need photographs. Marketing, you can do marketing with words.
advertising uses marketing, they work together.
Marketing and advertising are two separate things.
When
Look
you
at any advertising agency, and you will see that there's a marketing and there's an
yeah,
advertising
but they work
division.
together.
Yeah,
They work
but
together.
you can do marketing separately from the advertising.
Jerry,
The
did you want to
problem with
pop in
advertising
something?
is that there's no
Eventually.
magazines or
Well,
newspapers anymore.
advertising can't advertise without a photograph, which comes from marketing, and marketing doesn't have a point without the advertising. Like they work
That's
together.
not true. That's not true.
That's
So
my experience working for global
hand,
companies.
yeah, let
That's
me hand
my
over
experience
Jerry.
working on Madison Avenue.
Good try, John.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I
Hey,
have
Jerry.
just a hi. Sorry, I got here a little late. I was mailing Christmas packages. Done. But anyway, going back to the smartphones, and that's always an interesting question. But I have beyond that, and I think the value of photographs during these times has really gone up, and people are discovering that being disconnected from other people, whether it's family, friends, or whatever, is a horrible, horrible loss. So I do feel like a printed image still has a lot of value. And I'm just wondering, I don't print iPhone prints. So, when you, but I'll even take some of my great niece that somebody sent me and I'll take them into Photoshop. And when I enlarge those things, whoa, nothing but pixels and ugliness. I mean, can they really get, yes, they can get a beautiful photo from an iPhone, but aren't those mostly predominantly for screens and that kind of thing
No.
rather than
No.
printing? Because
No.
if they want a print that you can hold in your hands or put in an album, you can't.
No, I've
really
actually made some pretty decent prints from my wife's iPhone photos when she's out hiking and
large,
trekking.
fairly
13 by 19 is the largest I've done.
okay. But
But
that's pretty good
yeah,
because
and that's with she has an iPhone 11. I don't remember which
yeah,
one
the
it is.
11s are quite
And
different.
The 12s. Yeah.
Jerry, have you gone to an Apple store recently?
No, not recently at all.
Oh, okay. If you go to an Apple store,
Mhm.
because I was blown away when I was first told to years ago go, they have prints that were made up from iPhones that are incredible. I said, I
Really?
can't believe that this was done with an iPhone.
Really? Well, there's that Topaz Gigapixels now where you can, and maybe they use something like that where you can blow.
Have you ever received an image from somebody that just sends the iPhone image to you?
Yes.
When I get it and I look at when I put it into Photoshop, the damn thing is like 30 by 48 inches. How can that be?
Wow. The last
Because
one
it's
I
only
got.
at 72 DPI there.
Yeah, that's what I.
Resample it.
No,
Yeah.
I understand that, but I'm looking at the I was going to say raw, but it's not raw. I'm looking at whatever that file is, and
Right.
I take that file and I put it directly into Photoshop. I look at the size to
Mhm.
resample it, and it's always some humongous size.
But I
How does
wonder
that
what the
happen?
Yeah,
resolution.
but I that's not really our topic today. So let's move
Yeah,
off of the
I
iPhone stuff.
sorry,
Yeah, no,
I
you're
just
fine.
thought there's
Paul
still
has a
got to be
question he
some
wants to
value.
ask.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a vectoring program?
You mean like Gigapixel?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll table that to another
Okay.
conversation about technical stuff.
All right.
You
Yes.
freeze?
Yeah, so I want to go back to LaRae.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like having multiple conversations with people. It's like Creative Live all over again.
Yes, I know. I mean, Jim had made a comment earlier about how many of the first tier photographers are making money from lessons and teaching than they are from selling prints. But the ones we've been talking about, Helmut Newton and the like, are dead. So they're not making any money
Right.
um, from doing teaching anymore unless someone's
Yeah.
selling their old videos.
And
Um,
I started off as an artist in the photography world, and then I, to make money, I had to do weddings and mass produce photos. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a comment over on Facebook about your wedding photography, and you had a unique way of seeing the composition of a typical wedding picture. And that was from Debrit Schutz.
Oh, she was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Debrit.
So you had another site,
Yeah.
photosister.com.
Mhm.
What was
It's
that
still
about?
live. That was actually the blog section to my
Okay.
website. So I have my main website is my portfolio, and then Photo Sister is the blog. And I haven't posted anything for a while.
So where did the
had
name
a
Photo
kid.
Sister come from?
I was trying to think of something. I mean, my name is cumbersome to remember. Let alone, in business, it's like, oh, LaRae Lobdell, look me up. No one knows how to pronounce it, let alone spell it. And yeah, Photo Sister was easy, catchy. I was just, I'm like your sister for the photo. Yeah. So it was just one of those things. And again, my old boss, Ron Henry, helped me with the name as well and helped me launch that blog while I was working for their company.
So you spend a lot of time in photo education. Do you especially with Creative Live, let's say, do you see that as being greatly changed today? Obviously, much of it is online, but as far as what people want to learn or what people are most interested in?
I don't know about that today because I've been off social media most of this year. What I can say is what I saw last year. And I see that people are consuming more and more education than before 10 years ago, I would say. I think Creative Live was definitely at the forerunner of trending photo education and getting out to the masses. And I do see in the last 10 years, people who have photographed for just a year, they just pick up a camera and then a year later they're teaching classes and selling products like for Photoshop
I know
or
that's
Lightroom.
crazy.
And
There's so much bad information out there right now.
yeah. And so it is hard to get through, but I think it's a viable business. And I think you can't put a value on education. I think it's going to always be a necessary commodity.
Well, even through last year, what is it you think that people want to learn?
This last year, being off social media and really looking at everything from a distance, I think people are trying to find themselves. I have heard hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of stories from people all around the world saying, photography found me, I found photography and then I knew myself. I think it's just a tool in learning to hear our own voice and finding out who we are as human beings. And it's a way to connect with others. And I think that's what people are really searching for.
So what are your plans going forward with your photo business?
Well, kind of last few years, it's just been something on the side. I was working for Black Rapid. As soon as I had Emerson, 2017, 18, up until last year, I was working full-time for Black Rapid because I just needed a stable job. And to provide for my daughter. And with that, it was my dream job because I did get to do all their marketing and the photography for their marketing and advertising. So it was like I would create the image, market the image, work with the marketing team and the chief financial officer. We would put together an entire campaign throughout the year, do newsletters, ads, social. I would run social media. I would run, co-branding experiences. I ran the ambassador program, and it was really my favorite job ever. And so with that, kind of like my own personal work in photography kind of took a back seat because my priority is just being a provider for my daughter. And going forward, the more and more I have just thought the last couple of years after my job ended with Black Rapid last 2019, I really, really, really love marketing. And I'm really good at it. And I know how photography supports it. I know how, like, in a pinch, if I need an image, I can get it and throw it into the marketing group. So going forward, I'm going more into marketing than photography. I'll always still have photography as like a side income and as something that I find joy in and something I can gift to people. But that's where it kind of sits right now. So I can go more into like a career in marketing
Mm-hmm.
and to help other photographers actually get there.
Yeah, you're going back to school.
Yeah, college. Ooh, yeah.
Did I hear Emerson woke up?
Oh, yeah. She's right there. Do you want to say hi? Come here. No.
No,
She's
shy.
playing a game. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so I'm going back to school just because I need stability right now. And I think even a year ago, before COVID and everything, it was very difficult and very challenging to be the 100% provider for my family with just photography. It just has changed so drastically in the last couple of years, and especially this year. So yeah, in marketing, I can get a job that I can do from home. I can still photograph my little girl. I can still photograph family. I can still photograph her friends. I still have my clients, my few clients that I retain over the years. And that's pretty much how it lays right now. Subject to change without notice.
Sure.
We're all fluid in this time and day. It's like, all right, I'll do this little side job and I'll do this little side job. And you can't foresee what it's going to look like, what your life is going to look like every week, let alone in 3 months. So school.
Anyone else have questions or comments or something you want to ask LaRae? Well, let's just put a link to your website in the chat then.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do that. Sorry.
That's okay. We didn't.
No problem.
Well.
Let's see. So, LaRae, is there anything else you wanted to cover here? We're at the top of the hour.
No. Here we go. Let me drop this. I used to be able to like multitask and I can't do it anymore. I'm like, I can't finish a thought without let me drop this link first.
I see it.
Okay.
I think being kind to yourself right now during these times is really important. I know a lot of people, I've been talking to friends and family, it's easy for us to beat ourselves up. Like, I don't have a photography job. I don't do anything. We put so much value into our communities and that is definitely where we should, but we have value just sitting and just being a human being. I don't think I used to put so much value, like all my self-worth used to be on achieving something. I had to photograph one more wedding. I had to have another art show. I had to have the biggest solo photography art exhibit in Seattle's history a few years back. And that's where I got my value. And I think now in this year, just stripping all of that back and just finding value in just sitting and being and hearing your own voice and being kind and gentle to yourself in this time. It allows you to be a better human being to others and to be gentle and giving to them. That's what I'm
Nice.
finding. Just be
Thanks,
kind.
Paul. Well, thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It was
Thank you.
great.
Thanks, everybody.